when you buy gold and silver and you own it outright and you hold it yourself, you essentially become your own bank, right? So before they debank you, right, as some of these other companies here at the event are talking about, you can literally debank yourself. Gold is the only form of money that's not coupled with a nation's debt or attached to a central bank. That's why it's not reliant on one country's economy to perform. It's a globally traded form of money. But, you know, some people don't even consider it a form of money. They consider it an asset or an investment. I think it's money, you know, and that's how I see it, you know, in its cheapest and purest forms. I'm not going to insult my clients. And if their request is they want to put 100% of their life savings in gold and silver, I'm not going to tell them no, but I will tell them, you know, our recommendation is 20% of a portfolio of your investment capital. That's our recommendation. We don't believe you should necessarily do more than that. I understand why people do, though. The truth is we're competing with other financial advisory companies more than we're competing with other gold companies. There we go. All right.
Awesome, brother. All right. How you holding up?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, are we live?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're recording. You've probably done a million interviews at this point, huh?
I've done a lot, and let's keep them rolling. Why not?
Yeah, why not do one more? Then you save the best for last. You know, Aubrey texts me. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to chat.
So it's good to meet you. You're Dillon England.
Yes, sir.
Where are you from?
From Detroit.
Okay.
And this is awesome. AMFEST is great.
Did you
and
go
you guys
to,
are sponsoring.
We sponsored an event in Detroit too.
Really?
Turning Point Action Conference.
Yeah. That's where I met Brandon Tatum.
Oh, you were there?
I didn't go there. I texted him. I reached out on contact form and we hung out afterwards, came on my podcast, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I was going to do some work with him today, but apparently someone on his team had something happen or an emergency room, and yeah, he had to skip out of the event.
Oh, no. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he was on my podcast here last year, and yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I started this podcast about a year ago on business, on entrepreneurship. And that's still kind of my core niche. We've kind of exploded, you know.
I like this topic. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I read a little of your bio, but we've been back to back to back to back. So I thought instead of me trying to butcher your bio, I think it'd be better for you to kind of just give us a little bit of your story and who you are, and then we can go in from there.
Well, that's a long story. I moved around a lot growing up, so I lived in like 9 different states. I moved to Los Angeles. That's the state I've lived in the longest, California. And I've lived there for over 10 years. I moved there to pursue acting and music. And I just couldn't really make any real money at it. And I wanted a 9-to-5 job so that I could have a steady schedule, working in restaurants and being all over the place, you know, with the scheduling. Didn't make it easy for me to say like, oh, I can do these gigs at night. I play guitar and sing.
Oh, cool.
But I stumbled into sales, and I just knew it was my calling. I worked in a call center selling extended auto warranties, and then I moved on to like all kinds of odd sales jobs. I just wanted to learn as many pitches as I could, and I knew that if I just kept sharpening my sword, a good opportunity would come my way. And then the first decent money I made was in debt relief. Okay. There's obviously a debt crisis, so anytime you find yourself in a $1 trillion industry, you can actually do really well by capturing just 1% of that market, right? So that's what I realized. I realized that, you know, whatever I wanted to be in was going to be centered around finance. That's where all the money is. So with that being said, I stumbled into precious metals sales, and I worked at a few other firms before I started my own. You know, and then the rest is history. Now here we are.
Did you always have that like entrepreneurial itch, or did it kind of come later in life once you tasted a little bit of the sales game?
Well, I knew I wanted to be in business for myself. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs have strong sales backgrounds, right? You know, Mark Cuban even says like, oh, if I lost all my money, I would make it back because the first thing I would do is I would get a sales job. And all that does is it allows you to, you know, stack your money, because it costs money to start a business, obviously. And I never wanted to take on debt. There's companies that start off by trying to raise money before they even have proof of concept. And I don't agree with that model. I don't like it. I don't like the risks associated with it. And I think that I just didn't feel good about, well, number one, I didn't even have credit, so it wasn't even an option for me.
Yeah.
I could have easily pitched people though, right? I could have pitched people on my ideas, and I just never really went that route. But
So give us the premise of Fisher Capital, because I did a 30-second research. It's not your normal investing company, from
No.
what I could gather.
we're a retail precious metals firm, right? So we specialize in acquiring assets at wholesale costs, and we sell them for retail costs. We obviously build a margin into the products, but we get them much cheaper than anyone else can because of the commitments we have. And we offer a price match guarantee on those products. So for gold and silver coins, some of the most common coins you probably have heard of, like gold American Eagles, silver American Eagles, gold maple leafs. And those are really trusted products that people buy. And I refer to them as products because they, while people use them for investment purposes, the exemption and the reason why you can go sell your coin collection on eBay, but you can't sell your stock portfolio, is because there's no regulation stating that it's classified as an investment if it's a retail good. It becomes a retail product when it's manufactured, right? So, the business is pretty simple. We're just like any other store, like a Walmart. What they have is they have a team of buyers that works with vendors, and they decide what merchandise to put on their shelves, and they buy it wholesale and they sell it at retail. So it's very similar to that.
What part does the whole distrust of the banking system play into what you guys are doing? I know that a lot of people are nervous about if, let's say, everyone pulled out all of their money at the same time, the banking goes away, right?
Right.
Is there a
bank run?
Yeah, is there a play to what you guys do? It says, hey, if you invest in gold and silver, it's a potential safer opportunity
Well,
for you.
if the concern is that you are not going to be able to access your money, when you buy gold and silver and you own it outright and you hold it yourself, you essentially become your own bank, right? So before they debank you, right, as some of these other companies here at the event are talking about, you can literally debank yourself. You don't have to, inherit the third party and counterparty risk of another financial institution because you are not reliant on that institution anymore. Not to mention, gold is the only form of money that's not coupled with a nation's debt or attached to a central bank. That's why it's not reliant on one country's economy to perform. It's a globally traded form of money. But, some people don't even consider it a form of money. They consider it an asset or an investment. I think it's money, and that's how I see it, in its cheapest and purest forms. But a lot of the coins and products that we sell are investment grade. So there's case studies that show the track record on coins is always going to be better than bars. They bear higher premiums, and they're just more desirable, more trusted on the market. So there's a higher demand for them in the first place. What you see banks buy a lot of is just bullion bars, but those are not used amongst common people.
Right.
And that's why we have coins in the first place. Coins that are rare, numismatic, or in limited mintage tend to have a better track record over long periods of time, but they cost more, right? So they have higher premiums on them. For clients who are able to buy those type of coins inside of retirement accounts, like an IRA or a 401k, that you would roll over to a self-directed account where you can buy other assets like real estate, cryptocurrency, invest in private equity, and even gold and silver. That can actually create a tax advantage for the client because the higher premium isn't reported. All the IRS reports is that it's spot price of the gold and silver. So one of the reasons why the IRA rollover is so popular is because, if these people pay that premium to buy it in the first place, at least it's offset by the reporting requirement, inside of the IRA. So those people are also redirecting their savings oftentimes from the stock market. So it kills two birds with one stone. They not only reduce their exposure to the Wall Street and a potential, drop in asset value if we go into a recession, but then they put themselves in an asset that's actually proven to perform extremely well during worst case scenarios like financial crisis.
And at minimum, it's a good idea to at least diversify into something like this.
That's our recommendation. I mean, look, you've got people that, and how these events are and the type of people that are here are very conservative, and some are very radical. Some are like, I don't trust the government. I'm going to put all my money in gold. I'm not going to put my money in the bank. I don't trust the bank. And well, it's great because we can offer them a solution, right? Yes. but I can't tell that person like, hey, don't you think that's a little crazy? I'm not going to insult my clients. And if their request is they want to put 100% of their life savings in gold and silver, I'm not going to tell them no, but I will tell them, our recommendation is 20% of a portfolio of your investment capital. That's our recommendation. We don't believe you should necessarily do more than that. I understand why people do, though. And I have more than that, but I'm a little biased. I own a gold firm, so.
And how long has Fisher Capital been open?
I started this company in 2020. So what was it? It was like August 2020. So it's only 4 years old. It did really well. Right place, right time. And also the way we marketed the firm is a big part of the success, right? So roughly 4 years. They called us the fastest growing precious metals company in the country at one point. And they had us on a list of like some of our competitors. Does that mean we're the biggest and the largest? No. But what it means is that we were growing the fastest at the time they wrote it. And we were. I mean, we, scaled very quickly. So
What do you think the potential for this company is? I mean, you had $1 million by age 27 and you're a sales guy, and you also strike me as the guy that's not going to stop at one company. I'm sure you have other ideas.
I'm involved with 3 other companies right now. Where I see this company long term is I just wanted it to be a legacy firm. I wanted it to become a household name, a trusted name, and a trusted retailer for gold and silver products. And I wanted people who are interested in gold to have a personalized representative that's able to help them and actually have real experts that have cultivated a long-term relationship with the client. And what you oftentimes see is if a client goes to a coin shop that's local to them, right? The coin shop has more overhead almost than we do in many aspects, right?
Sure.
And, I have an office that's much bigger than an average coin shop probably, but the reality is that, we do this on a national scale. Because we do this on a national scale, we're able to reach more people.
You're not just waiting for someone to walk into your store off the street. Yeah.
Right. And also, I'll be completely honest, we have an aggressive sales team. When I say aggressive, I mean that in the sense that we are constantly reaching out to people. And we're not waiting for people to walk in the store. We do online marketing and they opt in. And I have a team of people that calls them. So it is telemarketing in a sense.
Yeah,
right?
well, your background sales. I mean, so you're just using what you know, and that's what I said with Marquise. I mean, listen, the best, I say this on my show all the time for the entrepreneurs that I've had on. I've been blessed to have some great, like I just had a CEO of an 800-man company on my show, and he just talked to me about culture, and he said, like, if you can sell anything, like, you can build anything.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you guys are doing.
It's 100% true. I mean, regulators don't like that kind of language. Oh, they used aggressive sales tactics and they induced people into buying products they didn't understand. Like that's a big challenge that we have in this industry, because they obviously want to regulate it the same way they wanted to regulate cryptocurrency, and they want to develop case law to do that, because the reality is that you've got a bunch of young guys that don't require a license, but yet they are able to move someone's retirement account into these products. And typically, the truth is we're competing with other financial advisory companies more than we're competing with other gold companies, right? Because the clients that we deal with, it's very rare that they tell us, oh, I'm talking to this other firm, I'm shopping. Because you know why? I don't want a shopper. I want somebody who we've reached that has already done some research, not really found any alternatives. And then, there's a fact in sales, which is this. If you have a cheaper price than somebody else, but they don't like you, that person will buy from the person they like, and they won't mind spending a little bit more money if they just like that person better, right? Because people want to do business with people that they like.
Yeah.
And
that's it. It's every time.
And that's the truth for me.
Yeah.
It's the truth for most anybody I talk to. So when you're talking about, something like an investment, for example, like, that's a relationship-based sale. It's not something that it's solely about the product.
That's how sales should be. I
Yeah.
mean, it should be the opportunity to build a relationship with people. I have one question for you. A lot of my listeners are young entrepreneurs, 18 to 30.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone that currently doesn't have a company? They're thinking about starting one. Maybe it's something like you, that you did sales and then you're like, I could do this better in my own way. Or it's just someone looking to get into it the first time. What is something that you wish you would have known before you started Fisher Capital that you know now that maybe you could pass on to the next generation of entrepreneurs?
Well, something I didn't know it's hard because I kind of figured it out all along the way, right?
Right.
So it's hard for me to pinpoint one thing. I would just, this is the advice I would give anybody. So when I see people that have big ideas, especially, right? Like if you go, like if you're a solopreneur, right? And you are somebody who can conduct their entire business just with themselves and you don't need a team, then you're going to learn quickly if you ever want to scale. Like you really need to be in a position where you can't ask other people to do things that you're not willing to do yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of companies run into problems when the leadership relies on other people to do jobs that they don't even know how to do. Oftentimes I've seen companies, not to name anyone specific, but I've seen companies, put a board of different people with different roles together, and that's before they've even really launched or sold anything, right? And they think they need all these different roles when, my company was literally just me and a few other guys when I started, right?
How big's your crew now?
About 50 strong.
Congrats, man. That's
Yeah.
great.
I mean,
For you.
and the truth is it's quality over quantity, right? I can put more people in seats at my firm. There's room for them. I have a big office and some of the chairs are empty and we could fill them. But it's about building the right team. That's really critical. I think that sales is one of those things it's actually a talent-based position, right? So it's not like someone, and actually the people who have walked into Fisher who have applied that have degrees, who are the most qualified, most educated, and the people that I would have wanted the most, because everyone wants that. They want to be proud to be able to say, oh, the person I put in this position is highly qualified, right? And that's why Jordan Belfort actually calls sales the great equalizer. I have guys working for me that make more money than the doctors at the hospital next to us. And it's just a fact. And here's why. It's because they work a lot harder and they don't rely on somebody else. Like we provide them leads and we do marketing and they're able to call those people, but it's them who earns the client. Like, so if I have somebody average on those calls and I have somebody average who's not a very talented salesperson, that's almost an innate ability. I can teach anybody our process, right?
And
And
that's what you want in sales more.
we educate the client on the process. The client knows the process. So therefore I can teach anybody it, right? Because they're the ones going through it. So if you can teach somebody who's, 60 years old how to do this and how to roll over their account into gold and silver, well, when it makes sense, I can teach someone who's 25 years old that, or someone who's 30 years old. And we have a very young culture at our company. But I will say that their ability to connect with those people and to make them like them, that's not something I can teach. It's just not. So in my line of work, it's hard to answer the question of, I would just say, you've got to just surround yourself with the right people, and that's it, and I've gone through every worst case scenario with my company, whether it was frivolous lawsuits, regulation. I had a group of guys that tried to steal all my leads, all my data, try to use it to start a competing firm. Like I've literally been through it all, so I can tell you that it all just comes down to the people you surround yourself with. And, I learned some hard lessons there.
All right, where can people find you guys to support you?
Text medals to 26786, because with that link for this unique podcast, this is only for the podcast I've done here that I've given this link out. If you text medals to 26786, we will actually send you a half-ounce silver coin. All you're going to do is respond to the link that you receive once you text that keyword, medals to 26786. You'll get a link. Click that and just fill in your name, phone number, and email. And our guys will reach out to you and also be in contact with you to follow up and get you out that silver coin.
Awesome.
And that's for Turning Point USA only. So,
well, we're going to do a longer one another time. I'm sorry I got cut short, but
it's
out of our hands. But appreciate you, brother. It's a pleasure meeting you. And I know that a lot of our listeners are going to appreciate that as well. So thank you, brother. Thank you, guys. And subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother.